Interesting things about aquariums. Aquariums are loved by many. They make it possible for people to get acquainted with marine creatures they would otherwise never see. Unfortunately, not everything is so bright about the very concept of aquariums and marine parks. When the documentary Blackfish came out, the image of such entertainment establishments underwent serious damage. But before we get into all the details, take this moment to subscribe to our channel. So don't forget to ring the notification bell too. That way, you won't miss a thing on the bright side of life. 13. Orcas are starved. Giving a treat is a typical approach while training an animal. But unfortunately, these treats seem to serve as usual food. Employees are instructed to keep the orcas hungry. This way, the animals are taught one simple concept. If you don't perform well, you'll starve. 12. People who work with orcas get killed. An orca named Tillicum became famous after Cowperthwaite's documentary came out. This killer whale, nicknamed Tilly, lived in captivity for 33 years, and during this time he killed 3 people. But before you judge him too harshly, listen to this. Orcas don't hurt people when they're in the wild. These animals are docile and social creatures. However, when they're confined to tanks that are way too small for them, their behavior changes dramatically for the worse. Corporate incident reports state that in marine parks, there have been more than 200 situations in which employees were seriously injured. 11. Orcas live shorter lives in captivity. In the wild, male orcas live for 70 years, while the female's lifespan is even longer, 100 years. One she whale that was found in 2014 off the coast of Canada was 103 years old. This supercentenarian was aptly called Granny. But in captivity, orcas don't have a chance to enjoy a long, happy life. In most cases, they die as teenagers, usually after they turn just 13 years old. There hasn't been a single orca that's died of old age in captivity. 10. Orcas have to live in tiny tanks. Like I mentioned before, the tanks these animals live in are immensely small for them. In fact, the length of one tank is 1/1,000,000th of the distance an adult orca can cross a day in the ocean. A whale would have to do over 1,200 laps around the tank's perimeter, or 3,100 back and forth laps across the length of the tank to make up for the 100 miles they swim daily in the ocean. Orcas can swim at a speed of 29 miles per hour in the wild. Of course, their tiny tanks don't allow the animals to gain such a speed, and that's why captive whales have a constant lack of exercise. This, in turn, drives the animals crazy and contributes to their shorter lifespan. 9. A collapsed dorsal fin isn't normal. Almost all adult killer whales that are kept captive have a collapsed dorsal fin. The employees are taught to tell people that this is a totally natural occurrence in orcas only. It's not. In the wild, only 1% of all orcas suffer from problems with their fins. And if they do, it means they're sick or injured. So, even if a bent dorsal fin doesn't look like such a big deal, it actually shows that a whale is unhealthy and unhappy with its life. 8. Drugs are used on killer whales. The food orcas get in captivity doesn't contain all the nutrients these animals are supposed to get when they live in the open ocean. But that's not the biggest danger for a whale in captivity. If orca misbehaves or gets too excited, trainers force feed it sedative drugs. These typically include antipsychotics, benzodiazepines, and even contraceptives. As you can imagine, these substances go completely against a whale's natural physiology and just shouldn't be used. 7. Killer whales have problems with their teeth. Like I said before, the cramped living space they're thrown into literally drives orcas insane. One of the most typical things confined whales do is chew on their metal cages. This constant gnawing breaks their teeth and wears them down to the gums.